So today we've got the iced vanilla berry. Hello. I am so sorry I was gone for months. A lot has happened. Skip to here if you don't care about that. So I was staying at my boyfriend's place and then I got kicked out. Not my fault, by the way. Not my fault. His mother is, and I don't say this lightly, genuinely fucking psychotic. So I didn't have any of my stuff. I'm back at my place, as you can see. So that's great. I've also had like 10 gazillion exams. I don't even think I can get into like everything that's happened these last couple months. So just know it's been a lot and I am very, very sorry, which is why I said I was moving away from Sims content, but I felt bad. So I wanted to do a little Sims mod video as an apology because a lot has happened and I feel bad. I feel bad. I've also completely forgotten how to make a video. So please bear with me. Trying to get my like setup was a nightmare and I am exhausted. I was meant to record earlier today, but it is now 3:30. So that didn't happen. I actually have no idea how I stumbled across this mod. I think I was on Reddit, some thread. I genuinely cannot remember how I stumbled across this. I saw this mod creator name, and so I gave it a little search. I'm gonna say it now. Major trigger warning for this entire video for, I feel like everything. CSA, abuse, talks of mental disorders like DID, programming DID, if you know what that is. Overall, a major trigger warning, and I am not putting that lightly. I'm not going to be going into like major detail on anything. I never do. I'm not going to show anything that's majorly graphic. Keep that in mind. Please don't watch this if you feel like continuing will alter or affect your mental health in any way. And if you have been affected by anything mentioned in this video, I will leave some resources in the description. I looked up this mod creator name because I saw it in a Reddit thread and I genuinely cannot for the life of me remember what the thread was. Just stick with me. But I found this and I am going to have to blur so much of this. I don't even know what I can and can't show here or else YouTube will age restrict my video and we don't want that. But I'm going to need you to use your imagination and fill in a lot of blanks here. At first, I thought this was a mod creator but I done some digging and I found this. Looks pretty normal. Nothing out of the ordinary. I do have my laptop here because I have a lot of tabs open that I need to keep track of. So if my eyes are like going everywhere, I've got like my boyfriend's phone with the notes that I've wrote down. I've got my laptop with tabs, so ignore my eyes. But I came across this saying here is a massive clothing collection from August-October 2023 mods. And then some interesting mod creator names here, which we'll get into. I've made this wiki web page to explain the details. If need further help, seek support thread. So I was like, interesting. They're working with some people, and I noticed a very interesting username, hcore. You might not know what hcore is. I unfortunately do know what hcore is because I never really, I don't know if I should say this. I'm debating. I went in on past videos a little bit of my my past child history. That's one of the main reasons I wanted to make this video. Was a lot of the mod content really stood out to me because of personal reasons, which I don't really like to talk about online just for like my own personal safety. If you can join the dots, I think that's all I need to say on this. But hcore is a very interesting username because hcore is a very specific kind of child abuse material. I'm going to put up a little definition here. I'm going to blur out a lot because again, I don't want this video to get age restricted because that is very bad. So interesting username, and I'll get into that in a bit. But I went onto the little wiki thing that they've got there. I was met with a lot greeted my eyes. Okay, I can't even read out pretty much all of these. So again, you're gonna need to work with me here because yeah. Interestingly enough, they do have a hardcore mod, which is just an emotion intensity mod, but interesting name, very interesting name. The mod that got stuck out to me was the tracking mod. Why do you need that in your Sims? Anyway, I was scrolling through all these lovely mods which are really great, and then I noticed they had a about us section. This is when I debated whether or not I should make this video, and I'll get into that. But in the about us it says, I'm a satanic ritual abuse survivor in real life. I make my copyrighted mods for free completely. I enjoy doing it for fun. I am an orphan and has 3 partners in real life. We work together as a team of 5. And there's those mod creators again. Uploading trauma-focused mods and related mods to Lovers Lab in here online. I read that and I was like, okay, maybe I shouldn't make this video because people cope and people heal in their own ways. I might have my own thoughts and my own research that I've done, which has come to a concluded thought of my own, because I feel like people forget that I actually study social science, which includes psychology and sociology and criminology. So I do a lot of my own research on top of that. It was the next part that I was like, okay, no, this isn't someone healing, in which they say, I met my two partners, doctors, as a patient, and another I met him at an institution. I suggest them with my trauma history. One, either this is someone faking this because they get off on it, which is a whole other thing. Second, this is a victim that is still being groomed and re-traumatized. Met them as a patient. And their mods, what do they have? They have a doctor-patient mod. I don't need to state what that is. I'm sure we can guess. So I went back to one of the other accounts that was mentioned and saw that they were in a little space. I don't want to be someone that judges. You can heal however you want to heal. But all of this together is just very concerning. Very concerning. Because in the little space club, it states, lolly, not welcome. And I've made an entire video on that, which you can check out here. If we go on their profile, they've got a little anime girl. No, I'm doing a lot of jumping back and forth here, and I am so sorry about that. A year ago, in the Wicked Whims little community tab on Lovers Lab, because it's always Lovers Lab. I hate Lovers Lab. Someone made a post saying H-core is gone, ? Because they just removed their account, apparently. Wonder why. Now, I scrolled down a lot, and I wanted to read out a really interesting comment here, because I have saw the mod mentioned a couple of times, but I've been a bit too hesitant to make a video on it, because I know it's a very popular mod, and I feel like I would get a lot of hate for doing that, and I would get absolutely jumped on, so I chose not to. But I wanted to read out this one comment someone left about this mod. I'm gonna have to blur out and bleep out so much, so bear with me. I'm planning to use Utopia's Brawl mod to beat a woman. I'm going to make a pimp for her. If she didn't bring enough money from her, use Nisa's Wicked Perversions mod and register her for debt, but before that, turn her into a doll, so she will never refuse sex with you. If you don't want to use the doll feature, use always accept sex in Wicked Whim settings. Making her in debt to a person will always accept sex with them and never deny sex no matter what. She will also need to make her income prostituting, and she will get phone calls a lot. And then they went into some very graphic detail, which I'm not going to read out because I don't feel the need to. The Nisa's Wicked Perversions mod, in which you can make dolls. Now, I get a lot of comments of people being like, well, how is it any different from killing people in video games? How is that different? One of them actually made a little comment on one of their mods stating, this hardcore, which by the way, hardcore, we know what that is, it's very specific. Victim mod is only for adults and up. I do not allow teens to have their picture or cast social trait, period. That kind of falls short when all your other mods include teacher, student, programming, and DID. And if you don't know about that, I don't want to get too much into the whole, it's a lot and it's very triggering, and I don't feel like this is the right time and space for me to really get into the specifics of what that entails. But DID in particular is a disorder which you can only get if you are, now the age is debated, but between the ages of under either 7 or 9, in which you have experienced repeated extreme trauma. When you're including mods, they're specifically about child, and you include teacher student in that dynamic. It's really contradicting to say that it's only adults and up. But hey ho, under that, they done a little, well, someone murders someone in a game, they're not a murderer. So I do this, I'm not a I think the person getting groomed isn't. I think everyone else involved, maybe. But that's just my opinion. I get a lot of comments of people being like, well, how's it you probably play GTA, you play this and that, so how's it any different? I know quite a good article that I'll link here that I really wanted to go over what they said, in which violence is connected to a complex interplay of societal attitudes and inequality. For too long, society's reaction to violence was to ignore the issue. It is a well-established fact that most instances of sexual assault remain undetected, whereas homicides are commonly uncovered and perpetrators brought to the attention of the authorities. Video games where sexual assault is the explicit goal should never be allowed. And some studies found playing video games with violent content was associated with myth acceptance, such as she asked for it and no means yes. This specific phenomenon of using mods and materials such as that as a way to heal is very understudied. I tried my best to find research papers on this, but I really couldn't. The closest I could come to was, I'm so sorry, I'm really sick. The closest I could really find was research that I've already covered in my Lolly video, which if you want to check that out, be my guest. But the closest area I could think of was CNC and BDSM. I found this article which I want to go over, and I will link it as well because it was really interesting to read. I feel like it covers a lot of what I want to talk about here. I feel like this isn't the video for me to explain these dynamics if you don't already know them, because I feel like if you don't know what these words mean, I don't think you should be watching this video. I'm going to try and skirt around the edges a little bit because, again, I don't want YouTube to hate me. So we're just going to pretend that we're all on the same wavelength here. In CNC, the scenes involve a lot of pretend in play scenarios. You know, it's a consensual, non-consensual. There involves like attempts to escape, resistance, or wrestling. In a lot of these engagements, the submissive might forgo a safe word, which this isn't that common. A lot of times, safe word is like the number one priority, but for some, they forgo it, meaning that once it starts, they don't have a reliable way to stop it if they feel unsafe or overwhelmed. The main consensus is that because of the pre-established consent, there is a completely different form of intimate partner violence in which there is consent given prior, even if it's revoked. There is a risk. If boundaries shift, one partner becomes impaired, either emotionally or physically, or initial consent is unclear or not revisited, it can quickly go to real abuse and not pretend. And so because of these risks, even amongst very experienced practitioners, CNC is often viewed as quite psychologically and emotionally hazardous, and it might especially be for individuals with past abuse. I'm going a little bit more psychological here. Bear with me if this isn't your area or wheelhouse. I'm just going to go over. We need to understand why this is harmful, and to do that we need to look at abuse itself and the effects that CSA has on it. And CSA itself is strongly associated with lasting negative effects on mental health and functioning, which includes an increased risk of depression, anxiety, PTSD or complex PTSD, dissociation, difficulties with self-worth, sense of identity, and difficulties in relationships and functioning. And for many survivors, a common adaptive response to trauma and abuse is dissociation, which is it's a kind of psychological detachment or compartmentalization that helps an individual survive overwhelming experiences, and it can lead to disruptions of memory, identity cohesion, and a sense of self. Dissociation appears to mediate the relationship between CSA and later difficulties or concerns. I found a more recent study among 393 CSA survivors in which they found that traumatic sexual symptoms like dissociation during guilt and shame around hypervigilance, and the tendency to prioritise pleasing the other over one's own comfort were strongly associated with function, compulsive behaviour, problematic pornography use, and just a general difficulty with sex. And so because of this, CNC or even just general kink practices that stimulate non-consent can be especially dangerous for survivors of CSA, even more so if you're experiencing DID or dissociation. One of the main things that people still argue in this area is if it re-triggers an individual by reenacting that trauma. And so for someone who has experienced real non-consensual abuse, CNC's roleplay can mirror the dynamics of that abuse, potentially reactivate those traumatic memories. For some, not all, I feel like I need to make this clear that this is just based on what this individual has stated about their relationships. This is so specific to each individual person, and I don't want anyone to take this as me saying that if this is how you engage in these activities and if this is how you heal and process trauma, that is so fair. As long as you're safe, as long as you trust whoever you're practicing this with, you know, power to you. I'm not going to be one to judge you for that, because why would I? Even if you're consciously consenting to this, sometimes you don't have the ability to know if you are being groomed into this, if you're being coerced into this, especially if you have past experiences with this. And I spoke a lot about this in my Lolly video, but engaging repeatedly in these fantasies or roleplay scenarios which are so deeply rooted in non-consent and child, it could reinforce neuro and psychological patterns which are associated with trauma, making it harder to disentangle what is consensual fantasy and what is re-experiencing trauma. And this is especially hard if you have DID, because your sense of self, your memory is so dysfunctional. And I'm not saying that lightly. DID is a very hard disorder to live with. It is not easy. It is not like those TikToks. Remember those? 2020? Yeah, it's not like that. It's not. And so while some researchers might say that BDSM or trauma play can, for some survivors, offer a way to process that trauma consciously, which is like a rescripting of your brain and reclaiming that trauma back, it's still pretty controversial. This review that I found concludes that although such pathways might exist, they're not stable or guaranteed, and the same practices might easily re-traumatize you instead of heal you. And overall, there's really just not a whole lot of empirical evidence to suggest one or the other. I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it is so dependent on the individual and who you are surrounding yourself with. And so ideally, you want to be surrounding yourself with qualified mental health professionals who aren't going to groom you and make it worse. I did have a lot more written down, but I felt like I was just repeating the same points over and over again. And I don't want people to feel like I'm judging this person, because I'm not. I'm judging who they're surrounding themselves with. Mom, if you're watching this, please don't listen any further. I don't want to sit here and act like I'm a saint, and I've never I just had my mic. I've never done any of this stuff. I've never engaged in BDSM. That's a lie. Look, that's a lie. And I've had really bad experiences with that, and I've also had really good ones. It is so based on your mental well-being at any given moment and your partner's mental well-being. And if you are surrounding yourself with people who are taking advantage of that and grooming that into you, you're just going to be re-traumatizing yourself over and over and over again. There's no healing in that. That's coming from me. There is no healing in that. You're not going to heal. You're just going to think that all of this is right and this is how it should be, and it shouldn't. And again, it's like, if that's what you do, that's so fine. That's so fine. But it is specifically when you have had a past experience with this and your partner or partners are not great for you and are leeching off of your past history. That's when it gets problematic. And that's when you shouldn't be indulging in these kind of mods and making this content, because you are not getting better. You're reestablishing that in your mind, and it's not healthy. I just really hope this person's okay, because a lot of the content was gone. I couldn't find anything apart from this website that was still up. But a lot of it is broken now and gone, and I tried using the Wayback Machine, but not everything was saved. I feel weird saying this person's name out loud, because I don't want to send them any ill will, even though their name will be shown here. Everyone else that was involved in this, I do wish you ill will. If what they said was true and you were doctors, I wish you ill will. And that's that. But let me know your thoughts, your opinions, if I miss anything out. I always feel weird going too like academic in these videos, because I feel like people just turn off and don't want to hear that. If you want more, if you want less of that, let me know. I hope you're okay. Sorry for being gone. Am I okay? No. Thank you for asking. No. But that's okay. I'm gonna go make ramen for my dinner now, because it is now, I've been filming for like over half an hour, which isn't that long, but I'm hungry. So I'm gonna go do that, go eat, go drink water, do something that makes you happy. I've forgotten how to do anything, but I will see you hopefully next week, maybe. Okay, bye.